Welcome to A Student's Guide to series. This time we're going to be doing A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. Here, me, your host with the most, Jonathan Resendez. And here we have your two favorite co-hosts, Nikita Komlev and Sunny Nguyen.
Hello.
Good evening. It's
All
dark outside.
The summary segment. Sunny Nguyen's going to bring you guys some good old summaries from chapters 1 through 4.
Yes. So the book takes place during World War I in Italy and Switzerland. The protagonist, Lieutenant Frederick Henry, is our narrator. He's an American who joined the Italian Ambulance Corps as a volunteer. The novel opens with him spending the evening with his fellow officers who mock the priest for his celibacy. Later on, we meet someone named Rinaldi, who turns out to be the narrator's roommate. And Rinaldi introduces him to two English nurses, Catherine Barclay and Helen Ferguson. Rinaldi is initially interested in Catherine, but Henry and Catherine kick it off pretty obviously. On their first meeting, Catherine tells him the story of her fiancé who was killed during the war and whose writing crop she still carries. While Henry and Catherine continue flirting, it turns out that Catherine is unable to let go of her lover. However, the relationship may continue to develop. That's my summary. John,
I think
What?
introduce a quote.
Let's do a quote, dude.
it's a good idea.
Here we have a good one. At the start of a winter came the permanent rain, and with the rain came the cholera. But it was checked, and in the end, only 7,000 died of it in the army.
Only
7,000. 7,000.
$7,000.
The classic undermining of this man.
Yeah, it seems like we have to look out for the narrator undermining and understating some things about war. Maybe he's just desensitized, you know? Like he's seen so much of it.
Damn.
Or maybe that's just his personality, man. I don't know. It's really,
Maybe he's
super
the
early.
half fool kind of guy.
What do you mean?
Optimistic, you know? His glass is always half
is
full, not half empty.
Is it really optimism when you're undermining 7,000 deaths?
Yeah, he's like, it's only 7,000. Not like it's like 3 million. It's only 7,000. Could have been worse.
7,000's a large number, dude.
Yeah, but not in his eyes. Maybe it is. Maybe deep down he's like, wow, 7,000 people died. But right here he's trying to be optimistic, you know? He doesn't want to bring down the mood. He wants to keep it nice.
Ooh, right.
Second quote.
Yeah, dude. Still chapter 1. There was fighting in the mountains, and at night we could see the flashes from the artillery. In the dark it was like summer lightning, but the nights were cold, and there was not the feeling of a storm coming.
See, like, once again, he's comparing the flashes of artillery, which are potentially killing people,
Yeah.
to summer lightning.
Specifically summer lightning.
Yeah.
Summer is
I like
usually-
summer lightning, you know?
Yeah, summer
it's
lightning
fun.
is usually like something breezy, something cool during the hot days of summer. Usually
Yeah.
represents something nice.
A nice break from the heat, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And it's great. But in this context, he's comparing it to war.
Which
Makes
is
the
not
reader
so
kinda
great.
conflicted. Yeah.
What's the like other thing? In the end of the sentence, he says, "And there was not the feeling of a storm coming."
So I
I wonder why
guess
he.
Oh, I think he switches from like the similar analogy, how he's comparing the artillery to the summer lightning, but then he snaps back to reality, and then he's like, "Oh, there's not actually a storm, but it's just artillery still."
so he's kind of hallucinating the artillery as if it were something completely different.
Or maybe
Well,
he's
maybe not hallucinating, just like
Or
Telling the
perceiving it as.
he's narrating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's narrating, so he's comparing.
Or maybe he's also like continuing his comparison. But before he said like the artillery strikes were like the lightning, and then he's saying that with the feeling that that there isn't a feeling of a storm coming, as in the artillery is happening over there and the fighting is happening over there, and it's not going to reach him. He's not going to have to deal with fighting. He's just an observer from the distance at the time.
Well, yeah, it says there was fighting in the mountains, implying it was away.
Far away, not like next to him.
Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Yep, let's go.
The trunks of the trees, too, were dusty, and the leaves fell early that year, and we saw that the troops marching along the road, and the dust rising leaves stirred by the breeze, falling, and the soldiers marching, afterward the road bare and white except for the leaves. So he repeats leaves a lot in this quote. What do you guys think the leaves represent?
Maybe not representing anything, but I don't know. There's a lot of trees and leaves, so maybe it just, alludes to autumn or something. And we know how, like, in the seasons, autumn is close to winter, and winter's associated with death and stuff.
So
Here
if
we have
winter is
soldiers
associated with death, would the leaves represent as a person?
It
Yeah,
could,
that's what I was thinking. I'm getting like this vibe of like they're marching towards their death or something,
and the leaves fell early too, so suggesting that the leaves are dying.
Is that foreshadowing?
Yeah,
Yes,
maybe.
as it says early, maybe it's like the leaves, like it was expected that the leaves would start dying off later, and the
Yeah.
soldiers are not going to be expecting like a battle that might come out of nowhere pretty soon.
Right, let's move on to the fourth and final quote for chapter 1. There was fighting for that mountain too, but it was not successful. And in the fall, when the rain came, the leaves all fell from the chestnut trees, and the branches were bare and the trunks black with rain. So here we have the classic theme of death and nature.
There seems like all four of the quotes we looked at so far have something to do with nature. Past to the one we just talked about and the one before we're talking about stuff. One had summer lightning, and the first one we looked at had winter and permanent rain. So it looks like all the quotes we've looked at have something to do with nature. Maybe that's just part of Hemingway's style. Or
Yeah,
maybe that's the
exactly.
narrator.
Compare
And not
everything
just-
to nature.
And not just nature. If you look like at each quotes, specifically more about the weather. Like the first one was the rain, and the rain brought the cholera,
Yeah.
and then the lightning, like and the storm coming with the lightning.
Represented artillery.
Yeah. And then in the third one that we just did, it was like the leaves falling, and like with the leaves and like the stirring of the dust and everything, the soldiers
Mhm.
came in.
That was foreshadowing their deaths.
Yeah. Well, and the fourth, it's what do you call it? It's back with the rain and the leaves this time.
Well, this one kind of signifies an end to it because it says all the trunks were black and that all the leaves have fallen because branches were bare.
Oh yeah, and black with rain.
So he has like this specific, like,
So
you go ahead, dude.
alright, so if we look at the first quote and we look at, the rain and how it's associated with cholera, and then we look at the fourth quote,
Yeah.
again, we see the trunks were black with the rain, right? So the rain, has something to do with death, as far as I can see.
Yes.
It's kind of opposite of what we normally learn. Like, rain is usually associated with, like, rebirth.
Life. Rebirth.
Yeah. Maybe it still is rebirth, but
In a different
so
way.
far it's just death.
Maybe it's gonna represent rebirth via their deaths. Say, like, after the rain, after the storm has calmed, all their souls will be in peace. I don't know.
It's interesting, like how in this book, the first chapter, it's all just like description of like scenery and like what he sees happening,
Yeah.
and then like the book actually like kicks in with like people talking, characters being introduced. So maybe like the first chapter is literally just there to
Set up the
foreshadow
scene.
the entire book. I mean, yeah, and then like with all these like comparisons and similes and stuff, and like giving this symbolism of rain, meaning that maybe he just with the first chapter like told the whole story,
Ooh.
and the continuation of the book will be well, it's gonna be that only like more in detail, I guess you would put it.
So is that our final analysis? That the whole first chapter is a large foreshadow for what is to come?
I think it's inference so far, but then as the book goes on, we'll see. Keep this in mind. See how it turns out.
Amazing.
Do you remember what chapter it was that? I think it was the priest that was telling him to visit his parents in Abruzzi. But anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh no, it's chapter 2. Yeah, it's chapter 2.
Chapter
I
two.
found it.
Yeah, I wonder like how come the priest is like he really, really wants him to go to his hometown and visit his parents. Like he went through the trouble of making sure the parents arrange a place for him and like greet him and meet him. Like, don't you guys find that pretty odd? Maybe. And then he gets like really upset when he comes back and says that he never visited them. And that's another thing. He when he came back, he was talking about how he really, really wanted to go visit Abruzzi and check it out, but for some reason, like he doesn't even understand why he didn't do it.
The reason why,
He returns from his leave.
Yeah.
Is that all you're gonna? Is it all?
I mean, there's nothing really that caught my attention. I think that's
Alright.
the chapter where he told the priest that he didn't visit him, and he
Yeah, that's when Henry told the priest he didn't go. But he was drunk the whole time. Like while he was telling the priest.
didn't they like make up and like the priest said that I mean he didn't really get too upset that he didn't visit his parents.
I don't know, but he was so hurt. Maybe he just downplayed it a little bit to save face, but he was hurt.
Alright, let's go to chapter 4, dudes.
Chapter 4.
This is with Catherine. This is where Catherine is introduced. Where they talk about her, was it old fiance? Her dead fiance? Were they fiancés?
Oh yeah. It's the fiance. He got killed in some battle.
Yeah, in war.
Didn't he like not want to go to talk to her, and then Rinaldi talked them into doing it?
Yeah. This is also
Yeah, I think
where
that's
her
what happened.
where her stick is introduced.
The
That's the stick that she has that signifies they like her old relationship.
It's a riding crop.
It's a writing stick. I mean, interpret it as you will, dude. I'm gonna call it a writing stick.
A writing stick, like what is that? A pencil?
Whatever
No,
tickles the
writing.
peach.
No, writing with R.
Oh.
Like on a horse.
Anyways,
Yeah, a riding crop is like a whip for riding horses.
I see.
Alright, anyways. When we talk about chapter 4, what is there to analyze?
And there's not much. Like it's just
well, it introduces the new character, Catherine.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, like one thing that we could mention is that like Rinaldi pulled in Henry to go talk to her because Rinaldi was initially interested in her, but after like they talked and they were walking away, Rinaldi noticed that Catherine was more interested in Henry than she was interested in Rinaldi,
Exactly.
which makes me wonder.
Instant chemistry.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if this is gonna cause some kind of like fighting or some rivalry between Rinaldi and Henry.
Ooh.
I feel like Rinaldi is one of those dudes who like doesn't care who he's with, just as long as he's with a woman.
Are you saying he's a player?
Yeah, a little bit. He was like bouncing back and forth between women.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely bounced back and forth between Catherine and the other woman. I forgot her name.
Yeah, lady number 2.
And then plus,
I can
didn't
find
he like back in chapter 2, chapter 3? They were talking about with the captain going to some place where there's just women, like a bar or something, just to hook up.
Right.
So yeah.
All right, I found her name. It's Helen Ferguson.
Hmm.
There you go. But yeah, that's chapter 4. Not much happened.
The introduction of Catherine and the slight rivalry between Frederick and Rinaldi.
Rinaldi. It's Italian.
It is indeed. Well, thank you for enjoying this student's guide to A Farewell to Arms, chapters 1 through 4. We will be seeing you next time. I'm out.
Bye.
Are you not gonna say goodbye?
You
Nikita?
gotta sign off.
Oh, yeah, I probably should do that. Peace out, boys and girls.
Is there like, are you assuming everyone that's hearing / watching this is a boy and a girl?
If they're not, they better get off this podcast.
No girls allowed.
No girls allowed.
I said boys and girls.
Oh,
Anything else can go. Anyways, did you stop the recording?
maybe.
I need to say something secret to man.